My guest today is Pardeep Sahota and his newest short film, Okay, Not Okay. He is a British Asian director, screenwriter, and producer, and he has cited his obsession with filmmaking beginning at the age of 10, shooting films on his father's VHS camera. He studied at the University College London and he made short films with the UCL Film Society. And working in commercials, he is a three-time Clio Award winner and won the Gold Emerging Artist Award at the British Arrows in 2022. His short film series, Bleeding Heart, was official selection at Slamdance Film Festival in 2020. And his newest short film, Okay, Not Okay, well, that's what we're talking about today. And it is a genre-bending sci-fi comedy drama that speaks to our world right now. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome filmmaker Pardeep Sahota and his short film, Okay, Not Okay, to the show. Welcome, Pardeep. How are you?
Thank you. Great, thank you. Thank you for having me on your show.
Absolutely. Now, where did you get the idea for this film? Because it's actually genius, in my opinion.
Thanks. Yeah, that's a funny story. I was actually trying to make another short film. It was I for many years we have funding over here in the UK for certain awards bodies for short films, and I've been trying for years to try and get some funding from them. But all the while doing commercial work, I was saving up. So it was like a in case fund. I don't get funded, I'm going to greenlight myself. And so I was trying to work on another script that was going to be contained, and it wasn't working. And I clearly knew that because I started cleaning the house, and that's always a really bad sign that I'm not enjoying the writing, and the house is getting clean. And I was cleaning the bath, and it was just I guess a lot of the issues that come up in the film were swirling around in my head and were in my, I guess, in the peripheral of my worries, and it just came to me wholesale. Like I've never had an idea come to me like that. It was beginning, middle, and end. I knew the relationship, the characters, the arc, everything, the designing principle of the one shot. It all came to me like lightning fast, and I felt I needed to just stop cleaning the bath at that moment and just write down the idea. I felt almost like I was almost cheating. It wasn't my idea; it was coming through me, and I had to write it down as quick as possible, just so I could get it all down. And that was the fastest I've ever written anything. It's literally like I wrote the whole thing one night, and then the very next night I did my revisions, and then pretty much up until the shooting of the film, we only maybe took out about half a page. That was about it.
Wow, that is incredible. Sometimes when inspiration hits, you got to write it down so you don't lose it. But there's so many elements to this film because with the overall setting, it's a dystopian society, correct?
Yeah, correct. Yeah. I mean, how much do we want to talk about spoilers? I mean, I can go
Well,
further
I
in.
mean, I don't want to give too much away. So I'm trying to be very, very careful because I noticed with the film that it's a dystopian society, maybe where everyone may work from home, except maybe the police, the fire department, or maybe the military. They're probably the only ones that ever step outside.
Yeah, I mean, it's some people have called it a lockdown pandemic film, and it may maybe have some trauma from that, but it wasn't really in my mind that way. It was more um, Loretta feels kind of trapped by the situation where there's almost like we're on the verge of a societal collapse outside, and I was always joking with the crew that it's a near future film, but I'm setting this 2 weeks in the future, and this was written in like July 2023. And then the more I've been taking this on the festival run, and like it just feels like everything is kind of creeping closer and closer to it. So it's almost going to be 2 weeks in the future pretty soon. But yeah, it's a dystopian look, and it's kind of a darkly satirical look at how um, uh, companies and the government are working together in some sense, but also not necessarily are for the working class people. Because this is a sci-fi story, but one unique element that I wanted to bring to it that I hadn't really seen before was a that we had a British Asian woman as the lead, and it was very important to me that she was British Asian, but not have necessarily the story be a function of her culture. It's like we can take part in these stories as well. And the fact that she was working class, like I wanted to see, like there's been elements of this kind of story being told in science fiction before, but I'd never really seen it from a working class perspective, and I thought that was a really great angle. That was one of my bathtub eureka moments, and I was just like, yeah, I want to tell this story from this angle. Yeah.
Yeah, and see that's the thing. There's the two things that I noticed as you were talking is the sound effects outside the home. You knew something was going on, but not once did I ever think that it was pandemic. I could see where people would think about it being a pandemic film, but no, it's much farther into the future than that. With the characters and with the lead character being British Asian, uh, I just looked at the film as a complete human story, regardless of the nationality of the characters, because everybody who sees this film can relate to the storyline. So you have Loretta, so she's the human one. And I notice that she deals with a lot of insecurities, but in the beginning, she is not facing her own needs, but her true needs are really emotional as well as monetary.
Yeah, I feel like it's she's eking by her existence, and is feeling like the general anxieties. I guess all of us are feeling like the tightening of our belts. We're not able to afford as much as we used to. But also one of the big factors that kind of were playing on my mind was the increase of the loneliness epidemic. And I know there's a big talk about the male loneliness epidemic, but I feel like there's a general loneliness epidemic that is taking over the rest of culture, and the rise of technology and AI and all these chatbots is aggressively accelerating it. It's like it's not building human connection, where or encouraging at least human connection. It's encouraging you to disconnect even more, be more on screens, be communicate through a bot. I mean, again, the more we move on from the first moment that I've written the film, there's things like AI psychosis and people talking to their chatbots and not directly talking to other people. So all of these anxieties are preying on her right at the start of the film, and it comes from, and the inciting incident comes from a moment of, say, profound loneliness that she feels because she feels trapped. It's a crumbling world outside, and so she doesn't really want to leave. So she wants to find companionship, and so then that's when she reaches out, and that's the beginning point of our movie.
Yeah, and I noticed every single one of those points, but I have to ask, have you trademarked the term metasapien? Because I would.
I haven't, no, but I might have to do that straight after this.
Because when I saw the name, I'm like, oh, if you haven't trademarked that yet, somebody's gonna jump in on that one. So it was a perfect name for I guess her better half. And of course she was using her metasapien to fill a void that she should be filling herself. And of course, she chose, like you just said, millions and billions of people around the world are choosing to rely on artificial means for connection. When I saw this film, it's actually life imitating art with us humans, um, how we interact with social media and apps on our phone, correct?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I didn't want to do something that was so distant. I feel like I like doing stories that are always relevant to the world that I'm experiencing. But I like to abstract things through genre and to explore ideas a little more wildly than, say, doing something that was set, particularly now. And so yeah, I feel like the connection that we have to technology and the increasing reliance on it is just it's something that I worry about myself. I mean, like I find myself every now and again just picking up the phone and doom scrolling, and then I catch myself doing it, and then it's like, oh, okay. So I mean, we're all kind of like tied into this, and it feels like we're being aggressively sold this, and that's what I wanted to really talk about. And I guess that leads to another a point of the film, and I guess this comes from my commercials background, but it was the aggressive selling and the aggressive commodification of almost every part of our lives is a key theme that runs throughout the film.
Yeah, and I noticed that, and so you have the robot or the humanoid, the Metasapien Zane, and did you base him on a particular social media app or, well, and I should say a social media app with in-store purchases because he is like a walking, talking app. And even with built-in ads, which I found very humorous because the ads would pop up, at very odd times, which actually frustrated Loretta.
Yeah, I mean that was so there's a lot of dark humor running through it, and then that was one of the ideas that made me uh, laugh when I first came up with it. I was like, okay, this she's coming from a working class perspective, so she can't afford the most premium version of a Metasapien, so she goes for the basic model, but that comes loaded with free advertisements, and those advertisements hit at the points where necessarily you might not want them exactly. And it's interesting where you said like where was my inspiration for that. Initially I was thinking about Spotify ads. This was when I was just immediately had the idea, and I was like, I remember when I first had Spotify, and then I just had to get premium because I was just so sick of the adverts cutting into the songs. And but then when I was actually getting into the writing of it, it felt more closer to YouTube, which I haven't got the premium. I know they keep on advertising to me, but I never do. And then you always have that pop up like you're just really into a video, and then right at that point you got to now sit through a minute long commercial, and it's just I just find that infuriating. And then you're just waiting for the skip button, and so that was where a lot of the humor came from the story, but also how I see the commodification of almost every aspect of our lives is that everything is turning into an app, everything is being sold, and every aspect of our lives. And so why not make that about the emotion of love as well?
Yeah, when I kept watching this film, and it's we're living in a world in which we're allowing apps to really kind of control us. We can say that they don't, but they do. Even if maybe I'm looking for a new app, I have the tendency that when I look them up, the first thing I go to is in-app purchases. How much is it really going to cost? Is it going to be a monthly fee? Is it a yearly fee? Is it a one-time fee? It never, ever ends. And people don't realize that there is a whole mental aspect to app design because they are created to simply encourage users to upgrade because your basic is made to where it irritates you enough to force you to upgrade. And even Loretta would get irritated a little bit with Zane because it was so funny when she was I think she was moaning about something, and he just turned to her and basically, well, maybe you need such and such, which was actually a medication, which was an advertisement that he had already gone through. And that almost reminded me of what maybe Chat GPT would do in the instant if you were talking to it like people are doing. But people don't understand that apps are created and has become a perfect legal bait and switch routine, which bait and switch advertising is actually illegal, but the apps are actually doing it and people don't notice it. So as we as humans, we wish we could get our better half or not so better half to somehow be able to be upgradable, but you may be showing us the future with this film.
Yeah, I mean that was where the bait and switch is a great term for it. Is that's where the darker elements of the story come in, and it's and I like the audience to lean in. The designing principle is one shot, and so it's something that you feel is kind of deceptively simple, but the mechanics of their relationship as it progresses is quite dark, and it's as you say that very early on she's advertised through the TV an antidepressant called Zenithra, which has all types of horrifying side effects, and she's putting that off. She doesn't want to use that, but then as you say, like you're inviting this basic level premium, well, wanting to upgrade the premium machine, and so he's trying to find any way possible to insidiously market to you, and you'll be marketed when you're feeling your lowest, or when you need a particular, when you're in need of a particular product, just like when your phone now listens to your conversations. This is like the next level up. It's like if you're feeling low, then it's going to start advertising antidepressants to you. And one of the interesting dynamics that I really found when working with the actors, as well as at the writing stage, was just at what level of manipulation is Zane operating on when he's dealing with Loretta? Because initially they have a very hot and cold, frosty, and then intense, passionate relationship, and he doesn't quite necessarily win her over initially, because he's learning, and then as the film progresses and there's a turn in the middle, but he starts to uh, smooth, or learn to work around her kind of her sense of humor and her language, because she's got very colorful language, and as he starts to reflect that back to her, she starts to lower her defenses, and to the point where he's now advertising to her when she's at her lowest, and she feels close to him, and then as the film goes on, and I want to leave the question up to the audience, is whether she has, in fact, succumbed to the advertising and started taking on the antidepressants. Like that's like a hidden piece that I'd like to leave for the audience there.
Yeah, there's you're so subtle with the storytelling in this film because the way that it starts out, and then right when it gets I don't want to give it away, but I'll just say it comes to the point to where Zane almost becomes, or the way that he talks is very human like. And that was the point to where then he kind of ruins it with what he says afterwards. And when I saw that, I was just like, hmm, isn't that what social media does? Isn't that what all these apps do? They get you to that point, and it's almost like it's almost like watching a streaming series. You get to the last episode, they leave you with a cliffhanger, and they make you wait 6 to 8 months till you find out what's going to happen in the next season. And that was almost that point with Zane. It was a touching moment, but then it just kind of went cold because he's not human.
Yeah.
And it's a very powerful moment in that film.
Yeah, I mean that's one of my favorite scenes. That at the middle, that turning point is, and for a lot of people is where the penny drops. But I felt like we did that through humor. He tries it through humor early on, and it kind of almost works. But then he again ruins it because he doesn't fully get. He knows that he needs to now get to her through dark humor, but it doesn't quite work. So she's like, no one says that, and so then later on he tries it when they're closer from an emotional angle, and that's where it's much more insidious. And I feel like uh, the the inbuilt manipulation, as it were, that these corporations would employ, and most likely do already on our apps. This is like dialed up to 11, and it's much more uh, mysterious as to what his true intentions are. Because obviously, I do. It's not entirely dark. I do want to leave it open, and that there might. he is also a sentient being, and there might be some level of communication and love and understanding. But to what level is a mystery to the audience and to Loretta, as we're finding it out as long as she does as well.
Well, actually, the next level was actually the comedic turn from a serious moment. So I thought that whole scene was so seamless. And when I went back to rewatch the film, I noticed that Loretta's life went from tidy to messy, back to tidy. You gave us a perfect visual uh, because it was not only the physical setting, it also showed us her emotional well-being as well in the midst of what we're seeing on screen.
Yeah, and that was I mean that's credit to the whole team really. Like we really we did a lot of planning because it was a 2 day shoot, and we did 26 scenes in 2 days, and so it was a well-oiled machine. We had half a day for set build and pre-light, but it was like real run and gun with 2 days shooting, and that were to tell Loretta's story because we weren't moving the camera. To tell her story visually through the lighting. And that was one of the first things when I spoke to Linda Wu, our DOP. I said, I'm taking one of your arms away. I'm not going to let you move the camera. So we got to tell her story through the light. And so we ended up boarding the whole film. I never thought I'd storyboard a single shot movie. I ended up doing 26 storyboards for the whole crew to see. But it ended up being a really great tool because obviously when you've got 26 scenes and some look slightly different and we're not shooting them in order, it was a great device to go, okay, we're here now. We're at this stage of the year, and this is where she's at mentally, and so this is what the wardrobe needs to look like. This is what the room needs to look like. And so yeah, it was and then Elle McCullough, who's our production designer, she did a great job in terms of matching her emotional state as well as Zane's contribution to everything throughout the stages. And then also in costume as well. Like Amandine Garcia did a great job in how we showed Loretta when she's at home and kind of feeling alone and anxious, and then slowly when as she moves into a relationship with Zane, she starts to feel color entering her life again, and that's when you start to see her costume change, and then it changes again later on, and it was a really interesting way to use every kind of cinematic device because I didn't realize it until we really embarked on this project, like just how much easier it is when you move a camera around to kind of use these devices to help you tell emotionally where a character is. And so once we locked that down, it was like a really good moment where we could just go, okay, let's really focus in on each of these details for each of these moments. And yeah, it was really fun.
You know, that's what I loved about the way you shot this. I mean, the changing of the set colors. Now, did you only have one colored sofa or was there two?
Just the one.
Okay, because when the set had the blue tone to it, the sofa appeared blue. Then there was a neutral tone, and I'm like, okay, the best way to get two sofas the same design is probably IKEA, and so and but I love the changing of the set colors because it was genius and it was very part of telling the story. So, did you use particular colors based on a particular emotion?
We did, yeah, we did, and so Linda was the first. Aside from my exec producer, Lauren Plagnon, who's been my mentor, Linda was the first collaborator who came on and really loved the script, and that was one of the first things we talked about. Is like how do we express her mood and the relationship that she's experiencing through color and through the seasons. And so there, once I'd boarded every scene, all 26, we just sat down and we literally said, right, this is March and this is at this time of the day. So then we literally went through what is the kind of color scheme that we would like to hear to tell her story. And one of the key things that I expressed to her was that like many other kind of one-shot films, if we're not moving the camera, uh, your eyes can get adjusted to things very quickly. We're very tuned to that, and so things can become wallpaper very quickly. Unless things aren't moving around, your eyes are just going to be focusing on what's moving. And so I wanted to keep things fresh. Not only in the color state in terms of the temperature, but also how things moved in the frame, and just to keep things alive, so that you're not just locking into one moment. There's always something fresh and exciting to see
Well,
throughout the
and that
film.
was the thing about watching this film. From beginning to end, the audience is paying attention to every single thing because even though it's just one shot, based on the fact of the color changes and, like you said, possibly wardrobe changes, we're paying attention to the story and the interaction between Loretta and Zane, which I just loved. And I noticed towards the end, the color was neutral and then slowly mixed and then into blue, which I always look at the color blue as the color of sadness and depression. And that was before, I believe that was before the new Metasapien was delivered.
Yes, yeah. I mean, she goes through several kind of changes of mood, but yeah, we didn't necessarily want to do too much like conventional stuff, where it's like blue means sad, but like there is blue is definitely used, and I wanted to kind of push against, say, using something that's more conventionally that way. Same with using the purple, like when they're using the computer game. I wanted something really striking and different to what is normally seen in like a living room setting. And that I guess that tied in also as well to why it's a lo-fi sci-fi dark rom-com. I wanted this to look like it's a living room, a working class living room of today. Because one of the things that I said to all the collaborators at the beginning, I was like, if you just took a shot of your living room right now, what is really futuristic? What is really 2020? Well, 2024 at the time, but what is 2024 about this living room other than your phone, which is just this like black oblong over there? And that's a super piece of technology, but everything else is the same. You got your sofa, you got everything else, and it looks pretty much as it would have been in the 90s, or maybe, the styles would change. But ever since the 2000s, we kind of locked into maybe one homogenous kind of style. I've got a theory that it's the internet. The internet kind of just made everything one thing. So that was a big discussion of like, yeah, how do we get that across? And it was through the lighting, but also through the sound as well. I thought we did write with the sound in mind, and Ed Matthews, who was our sound designer, he really helped me bring to life the script in terms of the audio environment, which is huge. And I did not respect how much so. Like they normally say, sound is say 60% of an image, even when the camera is moving. When you lock down that camera, it can almost be 70%. It's like when we first did a cut and there was no sound on it, I was worried because it's a whole series of oneers and there's like 26 shots back to back. And then I had that fearful moment of, have I got this? And then I looked at it and I was like, oh no. But then we worked with it and then we put some temp sound in. And then immediately it's like, okay, the scenes come to life because it was designed to have sound interacting with the scenes. And so, yeah, it was a very tense moment, but that's how we brought it to life.
Yeah, well, then, and that was the thing that I noticed because the sound mixing in this film is absolutely incredible. And like you said, you have a locked down shot. So tell me about the framing of the set because it's very focused because you have this one shot, you have the open door frame behind the sofa that leads into the kitchen, French doors, it adds depth of field. So how did you decide to frame the actual shot? Because this would have never worked if it was just a solid wall behind the sofa.
Yeah. And that's interesting because, like, originally the idea was to have a solid wall behind the sofa, and that's why that's one of the that was my original as I'd written it. And this is why you get very talented people on your side very early on, because that was one of the first things that Linda said. She's like, "Does it have to be a solid wall?" And I was like, "No, it doesn't." And then so we were like, right, "Okay, let's bust a hole in this wall and have some depth." And it was a great idea, and I thank her for it ever since, because she was absolutely right. And yeah, it's I don't know um, how much I thought about it, as opposed to it was more intuitive, that's how I imagined the exact framing of everything. I mean, it might have just been a part of the moment when I just had that eureka moment, but it's how I uh, literally wrote out in the script. So I don't know um, if I've actually thought about it on an intellectual level. It might have just been instinctual.
Well, the doorway behind the sofa actually created more movement for both the actors.
Yeah. Yes. And then that's again, that's Linda's brilliant suggestion. It's like we needed, and she's absolutely right. We needed to move backwards and forwards as well as side to side, and it just creates so much life. And not only for the actors to move, but for the light, and just so it didn't feel so oppressive, because it's one single shot, and we got to create some life there.
Well, the other thing too, when I looked at the whole setting, I was like, this would be a great yet simple theater stage production.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We've had that before as well. It'll be really good. I'm in. I could write that next. um, but yeah, I mean, I'd always envisioned us to be almost like a voyeur, and that was one of the reasons why it needed to be a sit back look at this relationship that takes place over approximately 2 years of Loretta's life, and so you see a beginning, middle, and then how it ends up. And to do that economically, and to do that with the reduced funding, because again, this is a self-funded short. One of the first ideas that I came up with was like, okay, so it needs to necessarily, if we can keep this camera as locked down as possible, that would be great. And then this is like a very fast process in the writing. And then it was, how about we lock it down entirely? Like this is who she is. She's completely locked into this situation. She's being bombarded from the world outside. She's rising anxiety. She just feels like she doesn't want to move. And so when we get to a point where the final frame of the film is, I would say, if we were staying on for another second or so, the camera would move, because that's the moment that Loretta will move. But in the short story world that we have, it stays locked down.
Yeah, and it was perfect. I love this film, but you have to tell me because I understand that what is this about this episode of Black Mirror on Netflix and how your film was 5 months ahead of its debut? Was there a similarity in the storyline?
There was, yeah, and it was it was a surprise, and it was a very pleasant surprise. But yeah, we had obviously no idea, but we're busy making our short film, and I'm sure they were in production at the same time or even before us. But we premiered at Leeds International Festival. We shot in March 2024, and then we premiered at Leeds in November 2024, and um, uh, then when it came around to, I think it was April, they dropped their new season. I got a message saying, you need to see it. And I love Black Mirror. I'm a big fan. I was so busy with work that I hadn't managed to catch the new series. And someone said, you need to catch the first episode at the very least. And I was like, okay, put it on. And then I was like, oh my God, like they've got the exact same kind of concept, where it's about the commodification and about upselling, and they've got a longer runtime. Like they run over an hour, and there's like they really go into detail, and some really great dark funny moments that Charlie Brooker is brilliant for. Like I'm a huge fan of his work. And it was funny, like even when we were making this thing, a lot of the crew would say to me, oh, this seems like very Black Mirror, and I would always push against that, because I feel like that has become a very easy term. So anything that's slightly dark and near future and sci-fi, they instantly label Black Mirror, because that's the biggest property out at the minute. But for me, when I was writing the thing, I was heavily leaning on Paul Verhoeven. I really love his satirical looks at society and like his dystopian near futures. They're really funny. They're really prescient in a lot of ways, and so I was, ripping off Verhoeven. So I was like, guys, you need to watch more Paul Verhoeven. But then when it came to watching the first episode, and it was a brilliantly funny episode, I was like, oh, maybe it is Black Mirror. Okay, maybe that is. You guys were right. So yeah, I just feel like it's obviously something that not only is my anxieties, there's obviously Charlie Brooker's and the Black Mirror's team's anxieties as well, and it's just a brilliant bit of a parallel thinking. But luckily, we were able to get out there first, even though with the underdog and Netflix is the giant. Yeah, it was a pleasant surprise.
Well, how close are we as a human race? How close are we to reaching the breaking point of over being offered, or I'm trying to figure out how to word this right. Where's the breaking point when it comes to being over subscribed and inundated, over inundated with in-app purchases?
Now,
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Now's the breaking point.
yeah, I feel we're pretty close to it now. I don't know. It's a very interesting time. It's a time that no one people always feel like, you've heard that throughout human history. Oh, these are the end times we're living in, and things like that. And I feel like this is the first time where we've ever had the potential that we might be creating a life form that is smarter than any of the smartest human combined. That is, if anything, that is a huge turning point in our entire history and culture. So, uh, breaking point, yeah, I feel like we're walking into one right now, and it's not. There's been plenty of warnings going up. Even Elon Musk was uh, waving the warning flags very early on, saying this is quite dangerous. We need to regulate this. And then very quickly he turned on a dime, and he's running headlong into it himself because he doesn't want to get left behind. And so it feels like, whether we like it or not, we're running into that breaking point. And how we deal with that is up to us. And I feel like what we need to be is a much more informed populace and a much more connected populace. Like, we need to make sure that that we have moments where we can talk with each other without the interference of some sort of digital artifice. Like, I feel like that is where we can maybe change things for the better for us, because it will change, and it might change for the better for a few very, very rich people. But the rest of us, we might be fighting for scraps. So yeah, I feel it's an interesting point that we're at in human history. But even though the film is full of a lot of dark cynicism and dark humor, I'm always an internal optimist in terms of human ability to connect and overcome great odds to the betterment of everyone.
Yeah, that's what I loved about this film, Okay, Not Okay, because it's sci-fi, it's comedy, it's drama. It evokes every emotion, including, those that are cynical. I can be cynical, and to see that portrayed on film is so great. But what has been the reaction to your film so far from audiences that have seen it?
It's been great. It's been great. I mean, one of the funny things, I mean, like you say, I set out to make a genre-defying film, and then what's really funny is like, because those are the films that I love. I love the films that you don't know where it's going, and as long as you're in the hands of someone who's capable, it's a really exciting journey to go on, because you don't know where this film's going to pull you. And then it becomes very funny when you enter it into festivals and they have very strict genre settings, and so it's like, is it a drama, is it a comedy? And we played in all types of settings. We played in sci-fi, and but the unanimous kind of response is that it's gone over so well. It's like really connected with so many people. I managed to travel the world. Like even recently, we went to Ravenna Nightmare Festival, and to hear an Italian audience like watching and feeling that laughter just reverberate throughout the entire audience. It's just like, oh, okay, this is not something that I've just dreamt up from my anxieties in a bathroom in London. It's like it's also people are feeling it around the world. It's like I believe was it Bong Joon Ho said about Parasite? It's like we're all in the same country and it's called capitalism, and it's like that's what we're feeling. Like everyone's feeling the pinch of this, and so when everyone's feeling the pinch, everyone's going to kind of laugh at the same moments and have the kind of moments of levity from that. But yeah, it's been a really fun ride, and to take this film uh, all over England, but also Europe and recently in America as well. It's been fantastic.
So you're still on the film festival circuit.
Yes, we're still we've premiered online, so we're on with director's notes. So it's been a year since we've premiered at Leeds International Festival, and the great people at Director's Notes are now hosting us for our online premiere. But it's festival season, and we're still in prime time, kind of showing it to audiences in the theatre, because really I did make this film for a theatrical audience. It was always made for a captive festival audience who are going to see lots of different types of film, and I really wanted to make something that kind of just stood out from that, and drew you on different on a slightly different journey that would make you a little bit scared, but also make you laugh as well.
Indeed, and it does all of those things. And ladies and gentlemen, Pardeep Sahota's Okay, Not Okay short film is a look into our possible dystopian future of life, especially in the area of relationships. We are connected by social media, making our world seem smaller, but also more disconnected than ever. What if we were able to order a companion and have them programmed with available upgrades? Would you buy into that? Millions of you probably would. But what you won't be able to avoid is the emotional attachment that you will have with it. Smartphone apps are designed to get you in for free and then create to move you into an in app purchase, just like you're going to see in the film. It's like, well, a programmed drug habit. You want more, but you have to pay more to get the continued stimulation or that artificially created high. Now, before the smartphones and apps, we relied on human connection to be stimulated with conversation, dating, falling in love, giving love and receiving love back. In all honesty, Pardeep's film Okay, Not Okay shows us we have already been living in a dystopian world, and the only true escape is to look up from our phones and our computers and see that real life is still there waiting on us to embrace and to be an active participant. You can't program real life, and that's the way it should be. I absolutely love this film because it makes us think, and we don't need Chat GTP to do that, at least not for me. Pardeep, I want to thank you so much for sharing this film with me today. I absolutely, again, loved it. Can't wait to see where it goes in its film festival run.
Thank you so much for having me on. It's an honor.
Oh, absolutely. And ladies and gentlemen, when you attend a film festival and if Okay, Not Okay is showing, make sure you're sitting in the theater. You're going to love this film from beginning to end. And, well, you're going to have a couple of light bulbs go off and go, oh, that's all you need to know is you're going to say, oh, and okay, because that's going to happen when you see this tremendous film. So, ladies and gentlemen, you can catch all of the Bond on Cinema interviews at bondoncinema.com. Check out our Prime Show, our YouTube channel, and you can listen to us on Spotify, iTunes, Audible, and more. And remember, you'll either see me at the movies or from the red carpet.